with this particular flight clinic. Can you tell Mike, are most people back online?
I can't tell if they're online or not. They're still there.
Okay, good enough. Well, let's talk about proficiency flights. One of the things that General Felka said in his original memo that precipitated this meeting was that CAP is allocating one proficiency flight per pilot in CAP, and they are strongly encouraging. I'm trying to see if this is okay. Each CAP pilot should receive one funded Profile 7 proficiency flight with an instructor. I know that some of you may have, well, no, actually, I don't think anybody has done these proficiency flights off of this specific mission. The mission number is, let's see, where's the mission number? REQ, I'm seeing REQ in front of the mission number.
That means that's a request. It hasn't been approved
Oh,
yet.
that's requested, okay. It's 23-1418/A17. 23-1418/A17. That sortie is, or that mission is up on Wimmers presently. It's funded. It's ready to go. The requirements to do that is that whoever flies it, fly it with an instructor, do it as a Profile 7. And Profile 7, as you probably all know already, is the basics essentially practicing what we've talked about here today. And so when you say, well, what am I going to do in this profile? Please go out and practice the 7 items. A little hard for you to practice early instructor intervention, unless there's some serious problems, in which case practice that. But anyway, that mission is available, and as far as how long the mission, you know, I'd say hour and a half. Where's Lance? We'll ask him if he has any preference. So any questions about the proficiency flight connected to this flight clinic, Craig?
Would you mind just sending that out in an email like you sent to all of us before?
I can do that.
Mission number and those details. And
Yes.
We'll make sure it happens right.
I'll do that. Now, give me your opinion on this. I've got a side of me that is really, really Mr. Fussy and by the rules, so forth. Would it be fair or unfair, or productive or unproductive, for our wing to say, sure, you can do that proficiency flight, but you have to have either attended this session in person, or this session on Teams, or this session is being recorded, or go to the recording. In fact, I wanted to take it to the point where further flight eligibility period was dependent upon those things, and I've kind of mentally backed that a little bit. Give me some feedback. How tough should we be, given that the national commander asked us to be here? How tough do you think we should be in terms of what's required to either continue flying, period, or fly that proficiency flight, Scott?
Say that shall conduct this, or did you say that it was just a recommendation?
That's true.
So you can go with his intent.
You know, I've always liked Scott May, and now I know why he thinks like I do. Any other comments or suggestions? Should we take a hard line on this? Yes.
I do. Just we've all put a lot of time in ourselves to put this together and attend in person and attend online. As long as all the recordings are available online, I don't think it's a lot to ask as part of this organization for other pilots to watch those presentations themselves and to be able to participate.
That's what's
I
coming.
really don't. And we can always exceed the standard. That's the minimum. But
Okay, good.
excellent, right?
Thank you. Thank you.
The ones online are saying that yes. And Scott, they can't hear you. You're really soft spoken when you're back there. So you have to speak up just a little bit whenever you give your comments, if you would, please. But they're in agreement that, yeah, they should either have attended, be online, or watch the video. And
Okay.
Derek, we understand you couldn't be here, but you're online.
So how do we have proof that we watched it online?
Yeah, we're trying to figure that out.
Well, one of the things I'll probably do is ask all of our flight release officers. I'm certain that we can't incorporate this into the hard data of a flight release for the next few weeks or months. But I'm going to try to communicate with the flight release officers and ask them if they'll make that a verbal issue. Have you been at the flight clinic? Colonel?
So as part of the mission tied to this, you can assign specific FROs, those specific FROs should be briefed to ask that very question.
Okay.
That's my opinion.
And then we have to have integrity. I mean, if a pilot tells me that they've watched it, I have to believe them, because if I can't believe them, then why are they in CFP?
I agree. Completely agree with that. Let's see, Craig, then Ray.
I certainly agree with the integrity issue. Now the question is, did they get anything out of it? And the way to ascertain that is five question quiz. Question from each one of your presentations. Did you watch it closely enough to learn this key point?
Well, I'll tell you what I was going to do, and I backed away from this last night. I was going to embed a couple of little numeric codes in here in the middle of everybody's presentation and make them come back with those little codes. But I thought, Greg, come on, man, this is not kindergarten.
Well,
Hang on.
sure.
Right.
That mission has not yet been funded.
Right, it's not funded yet. It's still an REQ. That's why it's not, doesn't have a real mission number yet.
So
Okay.
where did the Lance go?
I don't see Lance, but I'll bet he'll be back.
His tablet's
Elevate
still
that
there.
to the next guy above Lance.
He'll be back.
So in relation to what Craig said, I totally agree with that, but what needs to happen is whoever made that presentation needs to come up with that question from their presentation.
That's fair.
Yeah, because I wouldn't know what to ask them. Did you learn this from that? So
If each of the presenters will email me
a
question.
key, one key.
Yeah, Scott, please don't ask for your formula. Please. If you do that, man,
How do you determine the coefficient of lift?
my cap career is over.
Yes, sir, that's
Greg,
fine.
is this for those that have not attended, that
Yes.
are going to demonstrate they watched the videos? Or
Correct.
is there a quiz as a result of being here?
We know who you are. We've got attendance records for, well, make sure did everybody sign the roster when they came in?
Yes.
Okay, good. So we know who you are, so you don't have to worry about it.
And nobody's been snoring.
And, right, nobody's been snoring. So it's for those who are not here. Yes.
This is a separate question in addition to the virtual or the recording, if you want to watch that later, will the presenters also share their slides? So we can go through those
So
as well?
the slides are available. I just haven't told everybody that they're available because I didn't want you to go look in advance and say, oh gosh, I've read it all, I don't need to go. They are in the team, in the files section. You can only get to that if you use your Utah Wing account. So,
Whichever one should have.
I'm sorry, what was that?
I said whichever one should have a request if they have.
Yeah, hopefully.
Okay, we got another question in back.
Yeah, Craig, are all of Craig's slides available? I'll remember the.
Yeah, right. Uh-huh.
That we-
Sorry,
I sent him to Soder if he wants to.
he did. In Craig's defense, Craig sent me about a week ago a deck of slides, PowerPoint slides. Should I tell him what I told you?
I'm gonna make you tell
I said, you got some killer information here, and you're also gonna have some killer stacks of people sleeping in the aisles.
him. That's how bad my slides were.
Same with
So-
this guy up here, he was the test for the slides.
That's right, that's right.
So yeah, if you give me those slides, I can post those.
So if each presenter will shoot me a little question, greg@soter.net. And let's see, I'm going to send out, what was I gonna send out that I said I'd email?
Information on the slides that were invited to.
Okay, that's right. Okay,
But
good.
don't do it till you actually have the mission number.
Yeah,
All right, all right.
Because the
Okay.
request the quest number may not match with the mission.
It will not match the mission number.
Professor Wright,
I flew a PCT 7 last fiscal year. Can I do it again?
heck yes,
New fiscal year?
dang straight.
And this isn't on the PCT mission, this is on the flight clinic mission.
Yes,
It's separate money.
that's correct. You'll find as you look through the list on Wimmers, a mission entitled Flight Clinic. That's the one you want to use.
Once it turns green.
Unless you don't want to fly it on the profile seven.
Well, except, I think the thing though,
It was a joke.
yeah. Yeah, but your joke's really
It's really
right.
hard to say to a pilot, don't fly.
Right.
Please.
Scott,
What are your plans to manage the assignment of instructor pilots?
I think my plan on that is to leave that in the hands of the person flying the profile. You be responsible for digging up your own instructor. Gordon?
So I'm assuming then the instructor will have to fly with another instructor first, and then they can be one of the instructors that fly like horses this.
That's a good question.
Yeah, I think that works. Yeah,
So who's the first?
because
I don't see how
I
that would
don't
work.
see how that would work.
You can't do that.
No, you couldn't.
So-
all right, then, I changed my answer.
If they're a CFI, they should be able to teach us whatever is
right.
on that list.
But I do think it's useful to get our CFIs in the left seat flying the airplane. And so in whatever order you do it, even though you'll undoubtedly be the instructor in some of these flights, work it out so that you can get in the left seat as well.
As a CFI, you should never turn down an opportunity to fly in the left seat.
That's right. That is so true.
We need to make sure that the folks that are online get their information so that you can have it on your list also.
I'm going to send this information that Craig just described to the same email group that I sent my unending invitations to this. What did I send? 3 or 4 or 5, something like that. I don't know. I'll send it all to that same group. Yes,
What's
Lee.
the time frame for this mission? Oh,
I think it said end of the year. I think, just a moment, please. The question was, what's the time frame to get these proficiency flights done?
Well, you built your mission to end 30 March.
Fiscal year, just.
So the general plan of the flight clinic is taking place until the end of the year. Flights can be done.
I'm sorry, Colonel, I
Guys,
can't
only one-
hear you. Say it again.
Colonel Hess is
Say it
The
again.
general wanted the flight clinic to happen before the end of the year. Profile 7 flights could be conducted in conjunction with 4 individuals. There was no time to put on the flights.
That from our region
The
commander.
sooner that we do, the better, more effective for our execution.
That makes good sense. Okay, new topic, brand new topic, having to do with aircraft questionnaires. Some of you guys are driving me nuts.
That's what the gray hair is for.
Driving me nuts on aircraft questionnaires. When I became DOV, I learned that part of my responsibility was to approve all kinds of qualifications. My predecessor, Dr. Tierlink, taught me, and I really think this is a good idea. He said, Greg, before you approve any kind of a qualification, go look and make sure there's some sort of documentation that supports that qualification. Okay, that makes good sense. Generally, that works quite easily. I didn't think that I really needed to look very carefully at aircraft questionnaires. I thought, well, the candidate has filled out the questionnaire, presumably taken some effort and time to do that. The instructor has checked, corrected the questionnaire, and signed it off, so why should I need to double check those? Well, my devious little brain said, I'm just curious. So I double checked a questionnaire that had been corrected by an instructor. And then I double checked another one, found all kinds of mistakes. All kinds of mistakes to where the candidate had given an incorrect answer and the instructor, the check pilot, had signed it off as corrected 100%. And I started looking at those, and I said, bull roar, these aren't corrected to 100%. So of course, I started checking more, double checking more and more questionnaires to the point where now I'm double checking almost every aircraft questionnaire, and I don't want to have to do that. I really don't. So back to the room.
Common problems you're seeing? Questionnaire?
The question was, are there common problems I'm seeing in the questionnaires? Surprisingly, it's surprising how many airspeeds I see that are wrong, just common airspeeds. Quite often I will see down at the bottom, there are those sections that ask for checklists to kind of go through the boldface items on checklist. I find a surprising number of problems on those. What I would really appreciate doing, obviously, the first responsibility here is for the candidates to be doing a better job of completing their questionnaires. But that's sort of excusable, sort of. But what really needs to happen is for the check pilots to do a better job correcting the questionnaires. And here's my suggestion. It got to the point where, as I was double checking questionnaires, I was pulling up the POH, searching on this airspeed, searching on that, and then 3 or 4 days later, I'd do it again and search on this and search on that, etc. I finally got smart enough to say, Greg, you need to create yourself a nice little clean key. And so I presently am the proud owner for the 172, the 182, and the 206. I'm the proud owner of 3 different correction keys, and no, I am not going to share those with you. If I had to do it, you have to do it. So I'm recommending, hang on, Craig, I'll get to you. I bet I can anticipate your question. Depending on the particular aircraft, there may be some differences. Yes, you're right. You are correct on that, and we'll just have to work that out. But I would strongly recommend that each of the check pilots create themselves a key, do one for a 172, one for a 182, and one for a 206. And in spite of the aircraft differences, a huge majority of those questions are going to be common to all of the aircraft that I fly, or excuse me, that we fly. And use those keys. Bottom line here is check pilots, please, please do a better job of correcting questionnaires. Thoughts, comments, snide remarks?
Just to make it a little easier, since you created that master template for answer key for all of that, could you at least share that with maybe the check pilots? To
Just said,
You know, I don't want to be a jerk.
No, I mean, we should be able to look it up and get them right, but you can be off by one thing, one calculation, you don't wait to balance or something like
Scott,
that.
I'm going to ask you to do that on your own. Number one, it's going to drag you through all 3 of those POHs.
Right.
And I'm not asking you to do a key for every different POH. I think if you do one for a 172, one for a 182, and it's the 182s where we're going to have the most differences.
Right.
And a good, something I did on my little keys is that I have on my keys the POH pages, the specific pages that make reference to that answer. Back to your question in the back, hang on, Craig. Common mistakes. I will tell you that the question about fuel tanks on a 206 is not what just about everybody here thinks it is. And with that, I'll shut up. That comes up often. Craig.
So one of the issues you've already alluded to, it's very helpful if you'll reference what page of the QH your answer came from. And the reason that's an issue is because you can find different answers within the AFM for the same question, depending on what page you pull that information from.
Yep, I agree. I agree. So
That's an issue, that's a problem.
have your candidate, have the person taking the Form 5 do the same thing. Have them jot down the N number of the airplane that they're referencing on their questionnaire and put down the page numbers on the POH.
As a for instance, most questionnaires are going to ask for VX. Well, there's a definition of VX in the general specifications, that is very much different from the speed at 50 feet on a short field takeoff, which is probably the most important VX you need to worry about. And those are different by about 8 or 10 knots.
I have encountered that issue in the last 2 weeks.
And
On a
I see
questionnaire.
way too many applicants try to go to the general specification VXs on a short field takeoff, and they fly right through the middle of that imaginary 50-foot tree. Because that is not the speed for the first 50 feet, and it's gonna kill them. But our questionnaire is gonna differentiate between VX with flaps that take up or VX with flaps up. Those are different speeds.
Granted, so reference a page number,
Reference of-
and that solves the problem.
Yep.
But again, the big issue here is check pilots need to be doing a better job correcting questionnaires. All right, given no further discussion on that issue, we will turn the time for our next presentation. By the way, the agenda for the rest of the day is we've got 3 more presentations, and then we're going to have a little brief general session to bring up any questions, comments, issues, etc. Greg,
Almost 91,000 hours.
91,000 hours in this room. How cool is that?
Not counting YouTube.
How cool is that? And isn't it amazing that I have a third of those?
They're not even on here.
All right, Curtis Harris.